Hello world, I'm Denise. Thank you for joining me under my vine and fig tree. Fasten your seatbelts as we hurtle off on a grand adventure in a two-part video series entitled Don't Shrink Back. This first video provides the illustrations of what will occur in the second video, where all the dots need to be connected and they need the context of these illustrations. The first of those occur on the 6th of August in 2017. It was a Sunday in church. We were singing a song, This Is How We Overcome, and the words go, "You have turned my mourning into dancing, you have turned my sorrow into joy." And there's dancing and twirling as we sing the song, and some people get quite dizzy, me included, and not a lot of people participated in the actual movements, but I was enjoying it. We hadn't sung that song for a very long time. Further on, at the end of the service, we sang a song called Arise, and it's a very beautiful song. The words go, "Be enthroned on our praise, holy God, King of Kings." It's a very special song. And while we were singing this particular song, I actually received a vision. It was very unusual in that I saw a little twirling flame just on the side of my peripheral vision. It was just white and it was spindly, but it was very, very tall, about the height of 3 people. It was most peculiar. And at the same time that I had this vision, I had just a infilling of an understanding of God's purpose for us and how He willed us to be. And when I got home, I drew a rough little sketch and illustration. So it's going to be hard to make any sense of here, but just to give you the idea that there were so many words poured out, I couldn't write fast enough, and eventually I sketched it. And I hope to do a separate video sometime to explain all of that. But the key is that this flame that I saw in this vision was interesting at the time and is relevant to the conversation. Then the 3rd of June 2019, this was the day I had gone to a church camp, and at this church camp, the forest that we were in was very beautiful, and it was mostly green, but every now and again there were these red hot pokers sticking out, and they really stood out, and they created a longing in me to be bold and brave for the Lord. And I actually prayed a prayer about that the Lord would make me brave to stand out for Him, and be brave and bold. And when I was there, I sat on a little bench and also sketched out a very, very odd little picture, terrible sketch of these pokers. And it's a wonderful reminder. But we arrived home, and that Sunday night, on the Monday morning, 3rd of June of 2019, I woke from a dream, very unusual dream. And it said that the moon and a powerful light next to it, it was very close to it, started to fizz like a like a firework or a sparkler, and they were fritzing. I used this term, fritzing. The moon was fritzing, and it kept on raining down these little grits, particles that got into our eyes. And from that day, literally, I had itchy eyes for such a long time, and there didn't seem to be a way to wash that out and remove them. It was irritating and a puzzle. The story then jumps to the 26th of January 2020, again a Sunday in church, and the theme of the message for that day was Dwell in the House of the Lord. And the message was about divisions in the church. And so the end verse when we were leaving, concluding, was Psalm 23 verse 6, saying, "Surely only goodness shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will be found in the house of the Lord." And then we went home, and my son and I would take communion at home, because a lot of the churches only do communion once a month, and we like to celebrate communion every week. And so at that particular time, when I was doing the opening prayer, and I prayed the words, Lord, you dwell amongst us. And immediately my eyes squirted and I felt those itchy grits wash out of my eyes. It was the most astonishing experience. And from then onwards, I didn't have a problem with my eyes. And it was this concept of dwelling in the house of the Lord and no longer having painful eyes. The story then jumps further on to the 24th of September 23. So on the evening of 23rd, waking up on the 24th, I'd had another interesting dream. And now this is a very, very unusual dream. So I wrote it out. I'd sent it as a voice note to my friend and I wrote it out today. I had been wrestling with communion and what to do with it. And a friend had sent me a post on the perfection of God's timing. And the dream took me back to the time when I was at a particular church and the time I had my revelation, which I first told you about the twirling flame. The revelation was that I had grown. I saw this twirling flame and I sort of recognized it as my spirit self. But it was the size of 3 times a human. I was really, really tall. And so in this dream, now this new dream now on the 24th of September, I recognized that I could see on top of our wardrobe from just standing next to it. And I could only have done that if I'd grown. But I was significantly taller. But when I looked at my legs, they'd only grown at about a couple of inches. But it couldn't explain the height that I was at. And I only remember to relate this at the end. I was trying to measure myself and no one was around. Everybody kept getting distracted away and that was going to help me. So I didn't get to find out how tall I was. So that was one of the elements of the dream. But anyway, while I was standing now next to the wardrobe in this dream and looking down onto tents and things, there was all the shaking that started to happen and some sort of earthquake type event was beginning to happen. And these geological rocks seemed to be rolling about and they were what I've understood to be called a term called geodes, that if they break open, they have amethysts inside. There's a rock that has these amethyst crystals inside. And they were rolling about and they were also raining out of the sky. And for some reason, they were rolling down the hillsides and rolling about. And then all of a sudden, I was in a vehicle with my husband and he was driving. And now I can't establish in my mind whether the vehicle was a plane or a car. It seemed to first be a plane, then all of a sudden it was a car, and then after a while it seemed to be the interior of a boat. But I was hanging on at the back, and my husband was driving up front, and we were driving next to a lake, and the lake was absolutely placid, but the ground was shaking and bouncing, and we were bouncing along on this road or next to this lake at any rate, and these rocks were falling down and they were in the car, and because the vehicle was going up and down, they were rolling down and rolling back again in the vehicle. And it seemed to be like a boat. The floor of this vehicle sort of stretched further forward with planks so that it looked like the deck of a boat. And suddenly what had been close together car seats weren't anymore. They were like boat seats, very far spaced apart. And then my husband at some point said to me, "Don't you think you should come up front here with me so we can navigate this together?" And I said, "Oh, okay. I didn't know you wanted me to. I was, keeping out of your way in the back here." So then I started to make my way forward, and that was when I woke up. So that was the dream. But I had a sense that God was doing some sort of a shaking, and it was unusual because we couldn't see what was shaking. The physical things were shaking. But we were having to make some decisions, and he was leaving us to make the decisions. Vivid and strange. And I knew when in this dream that somehow this lake that we were driving next to was in North or Central Africa. It was nowhere near South Africa where we live, but it was much further north. And there are volcanoes there, some ancient, some are not dormant anymore. They sort of got lava pits going and so on. And they are quite capable of spewing out the rocks and around us, and those same rocks that would contain those amethysts raining down. It's entirely plausible. So that was that dream of that time. 2 days later, at our Bible study, I was very puzzled about all of this. We'd been asked to share a Bible verse, a favorite Bible verse at the study, and each person went through theirs, and I came to mine. And mine was in Habakkuk 2, verse 2 to 4, and it's about a message to put on tablets that seeks a revelation, that a messenger may run with it. And I related this dream and wondered if it may link in some possible way to this verse. It was all a total puzzle. The verse is a puzzle, the dream was a puzzle, it was all very strange. Anyway, then the coming forward to the recent, what triggered all of this coming into view was what had been revealed on a channel somebody had sent me this video of. But now the day before that, just to insert it for context, the 26th of September 24, I woke up in the morning, and instead of having a hymn playing in my head as I usually do, there were the words, I strike the shepherd, the sheep are scattered. And it kept repeating, I strike the shepherd, the sheep are scattered. And it sounded a little sinister or ominous. I looked that up. It's in Zechariah 13, verse 7. But I'm not going into that right now, but it's very relevant to the conversation. And then the next day in the evening, a friend had posted me a video, and I went to watch this video and was so astonished by what this lady had to say, because it linked to all these elements that I've been telling you about. So a lady reporting the dreams of her children related to the twin moons that we'll have in our sky from 29 September to 25 November. I was amazed at all the details. An asteroid will get trapped in the Earth's orbit for a time, so that it will appear as though we have two moons. They will merge and go black, which is new moon to us, and dissolve to dust. And in listening to what she had to say and reading so many of the comments, people have been having similar dreams for years, and so many of the comments linked to the details of what I've revealed to you in the various events of the dream of the moon and the grits, and then the dream of the riding in this crazy time of an earthquake. And the important detail that's the thread through all of this is this twirling flame, this very tall twirling flame. So those are the pictures that are the detail of the video, and I'm going to sign off and do the next part of connecting the dots. See you in part 2. God bless.